Hi, this is Analyzing Transactions, video number 3, and we are still continuing with analyzing transactions sold on accounts. I'm sorry, on account transactions. So we're going to start on page 44 in the Southwest Edition textbook, edition 10. We're on page 44 with the transaction for January the 12th that says sold services on account to Main Street Services, $500. Sold services on account to Main Street Services for $500. So, with that being our transaction, we're on page 44. It is January 12th. Okay. So if we sold services on account, so sold services, this type of transaction is a sale. If I sold services, I made a sale. So the account affected here is sales. So I sold services, I made a sale. So sales is the account affected. And what did I sell? I sold services on account. So if I sold the service on account, the on account portion, sold service on account, is accounts receivable, AR, accounts receivable. Going back to the lesson on the on account, which is pay later. In this scenario, we are the vendor. We made a sale to a customer. So we sold something to them on account, and they're going to pay us later, which is a receivable for us because we're going to receive cash on a later date. So the two accounts that are affected here is sales and accounts receivable. So what type of account is sales? Sales is owner's equity. Owner's equity. I'm sorry. Where does sales fit in the accounting equation? It's owner's equity. Where does accounts receivable fit into the accounting equation? That is an asset. Asset. So, do I have more or less sales based off this account, based off this transaction? You could also think of it more or less owner's equity. If I have more or less owner's equity, the normal balance of owner's equity is credit. The normal balance of sales is also credit. So this works. Sales, owner's equity, credit. That all makes sense. Accounts receivable is an asset. The normal balance of an asset is debit. So based on this transaction, which is sold services on account to Main Street Services, do I have more or less sales or more or less owner's equity? I have more. So that's a plus. Do I have more or less accounts receivable, which means do I have more or less assets? I have more. So that's also a plus. When it's a plus, we keep the same as the normal balance. So this is a credit. This is a debit. We always write our debits first. So what account do we debit? We debit accounts receivable and we credit sales. Okay. So that is how you analyze that transaction. So now we're going to analyze the transaction on page 46. Now we're going to go to page 46. We're going to go to page 46 and we are going to analyze our next transaction. Okay. So on page 46, you have a January 16 transaction. Receive cash on account from Main Street Services. Receive cash on account from Main Street Services, $200. So we're on page 46, and it is January the 16th. So the first question we ask ourselves is what two accounts are affected? Question number one, what two accounts are affected? And we received cash. So if we receive cash, cash is affected. It says received cash on account. So if receive cash on account, that's accounts receivable. We are receiving cash on account. So that's accounts receivable. Okay. So what type of account is cash related to the accounting equation? That is an asset. Where does accounts receivable fall into the accounting equation? That is also an asset. So what is the normal balance of an asset? It is debit. What is the normal balance of accounts receivable? I'm sorry, asset and accounts receivable. It's also a debit. So our plus or minus column. Do we have more or less? Do we have more or less? More or less of cash based off this transaction? We received cash. If we receive cash, that means we have more cash. So that is a plus. We receive cash on account. So if we receive cash on the account, that means the account balance is going down. They now owe us less. That means we have less money that we expect to receive because they're paying us. So that one will be a minus. So if this is a plus, we do the same as the normal balance, which here is debit. If this is a minus, we do the opposite of the normal balance, which is credit. So we always write the debit first. What account are we debiting based off the change column? We debit cash. Which account do we credit? We credit accounts receivable. And that is how you analyze the on-account transactions. We sold on account, we bought on account, we paid on account, we received on account. Thank you.